Tuesday, May 5th, 2020. We're doing this on Zoom. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Are there any additions to the agenda for routine maintenance matters and/or pressing matters that will require ratification at a future meeting?
I have one, please. It's would be item number 1C, which is authorization of filing USDA housing preservation grant. The item itself was under public hearings, but it requires action, so it should be a separate item.
Yeah, I got about half of that. You're breaking up back there. I don't know what you said.
Yeah, I didn't hear it either.
Okay, it's item 1C under development, which is authorization of filing a USDA housing preservation grant.
Okay, I got that time.
Okay, that's all I have.
Sue was just there for a minute, but I see her chair is vacant, so. Okay, if there's no further additions to the agenda, let's go to approve the minutes of April 21st, 2020. I'll take a motion. Motion's been made and seconded. Any adjustments, corrections, deletions, comments? Hearing none. All those in favor would vote aye.
Aye.
I guess I got one aye from Sue and nobody else there.
Aye.
Okay. Minutes are approved. Go to public comment on the items not on the agenda. 3 minutes per person.
No, I don't have anyone raising their hand, Peter.
I didn't see anybody myself, so. Okay, manager report.
I'll speak loudly. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can finally hear you. Yeah.
We called back 4 highway staff this week who were on furlough. 3 are still on furlough. So we expect to call 2 back next week. For the public, the clerk's office is open by appointment, and Kathleen can speak to that more. It's working out well. The rest of town hall is closed still. Payments for utilities and taxes can be mailed. Credit card payments can be done over the phone. And we have temporarily reduced the credit card fee. Tax bills are due May 11th, and payments are coming in on the normal schedule. So thank you to the public for that. Recycling center is still in operation, one at a time. Pack your patients, don't empty your attic. We are having social distancing at the recycling center, so please just bring what you need to throw away now. Gary Fox is still providing business support. The recreation department is preparing to open for the summer. We have not heard yet about pools. Pools are obviously really important amenity for the residents over the summer. There's a possibility we will be able to open the pool. It is a sanitized water, so hopefully we will be able to open the pool. We don't know yet. That obviously depends on the state. The listers have asked for a statement to be read, which is the listers are available to the public and property owners. Please call or email, and we will get back to you to discuss your concerns and answer questions. The phone number is 802-463-1229, and their email is listers@rockbf.org. Grievance Day is set for June 10th. You must submit your grievance in writing, by mail or by email, in a simple letter explaining your issue, the property location, number, the value you think it should be, and be sure to include owner contact information. It is not necessary to attend a hearing. However, if you wish to have a hearing with all 3 listers, we will connect with you by phone or by Zoom link. Call is the same number, 802-463-1229, to make an appointment. And information is available on the town website, department's lister page. So all of what I just read is available on the town's website. And now Chuck is here, Chuck Wise, the interim manager, and he can provide an update on when we will be able to open town facilities.
My expectation is that we'll be able to open mid-month to late month at the latest. We'll have to check with each department to make sure that we can conform to those CDC guidelines while still being in the same building or the same workspace. So that will be a department by department decision.
Right, and so that's all we got.
Okay, just make a note that Mr. Wise is not the interim manager till the 15th. It was voted at the last meeting. So please make sure that he's not referred to as the interim manager as yet. Thank you.
Yes, and I just asked him, since he'll be handling the opening, I just asked him to report on it.
Is Mr. Fox available? But I don't see him in there.
Yes, well, he's not here, he's on Zoom. So Gary, you can, if Shannon, if you wouldn't mind unmuting Gary, please. Wrong Gary. Oh, no.
I don't see him up there.
I don't, he was actually going to be here and the door's unlocked. If you don't mind checking. Peter, in the meantime, if you could check your email, I sent you the script that needs to be read. We have several public hearings in the development office, and it's important that we follow the process as prescribed by the granting authorities. Oh, here's Gary. You're on.
Okay.
Saved by the bell.
Yeah, so do you have the script, Peter?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's the one that Gary Fox sent you there about the public comment on 5 grant projects. That when,
I just forwarded it about 10 minutes ago.
well, I don't have it, so.
I'll send it again.
So I have just an announcement to make first, and I suggest we wait till 6:15 when the meetings are noticed for. We do have an interpreter that will be here for the meeting. Oh, I see she's on, Joan Pellerin. And she has signed for anyone not on the meeting to know that they can pin her box to their screen so it stays on. Also at 6:15, Bobby Kilburn is going to join us, who did a lot of the work on the Chroma grant, a lot of community development program, public hearing. And the announcement I wanted to make before we start the public meetings, looks like we're about 6:09. So Susan Rang, who is our certified local government or historic preservation commission coordinator, has resigned. She hasn't been feeling well for a while and has been at home, and we're hoping that she would turn around and maybe come back. She hasn't, and so she's regrettably resigning effective May 15th, and we really appreciate all of the work she did for the Historic Preservation Commission. Really brought the work of that commission up and up with maintenance programs, meeting house, speaker programs. She's done a great job, really popular programs, had speakers that were attractive to the community and got really good turnout, coordinating the library in those. And she will be missed. So we're at 6:10, and the meetings are noticed for 6:15. I suppose we can catch anyone up if anyone comes on after 6:15. Maybe the host could watch for that and alert us if anyone new comes on at 6:15. And the first public hearing up is Rural Community Development Program's Chroma Expansion Project, the closeout public hearing. And Bobby Kilburn is here from BECC to present on that.
Sure. Good evening. Gary, would you like me to get started?
No, hang on a second. So we had a script for the chair to open the public hearing session with Gaetano. I don't know if Peter, do you have that?
Nope, and I'm not able to access it currently. So if someone has what there, they can read it if they'd like. We'll start with that.
All right, I am officially opening the public hearings and public meetings as follows. The town of Rockingham received a $600,000 grant under the Vermont Community Development Program and sub-granted to the Bilateral Development Credit Corporation for the Chroma Technology Expansion Project. This hearing is to obtain the views of citizens on community development, to furnish information concerning the range of community development activities that have been undertaken under this program, and to give effective citizens the opportunity to examine a statement of the use of these funds. The funds received have been used to accomplish the following activities: expansion of Chroma Technology Corp., including a building addition at 10 Imtech Lane, building and site improvements at 10 Imtech Lane, resulting in a net increase of 16 employees as of December 31st, 2019. All of them?
Yeah, we do them all at once, right?
Okay, number two, the town of Rockingham received a $150,000 grant under the Vermont Community Development Program and sub-granted to the Bellows Falls Area Development Corporation for the Robertson Paper Mill redevelopment project. This hearing is to obtain the views of citizens on community development, to furnish information concerning the range of community development activities that have been undertaken under this program, and to give affected citizens the opportunity to examine a statement of the use of these funds. The funds received have been used to accomplish the following activities: demolition of the blighted buildings on the site so that the soils can be assessed for cleanup. The CDBG funds were targeted primarily toward building and asbestos removal. The brownfields completion report was finalized as of August 29th, 2019. Number three, the town of Rockingham is considering filing application to the United States Department of Agriculture Section 533 Housing Preservation Grant Program for $50,000. This hearing is to give citizens an opportunity to become acquainted with the proposed project and obtain the views of the citizenry on such items as economic and environmental impacts, service area alternatives to the project, or any other issue identified. The funds will be used to loan or grant to eligible persons for making repairs identified by the town through nuisance ordinance and/or other town enforcement activities. The grant application is due May 7th, 2020. The select board will not make any decisions during the public hearing. We will reserve our deliberations until the regular meeting, which follows the public hearing. Okay, letter B, number 1, public meetings. The town of Rockingham filed an application to the United States Department of Agriculture Community Facilities Program for $26,383 towards a $48,000, $383 firefighting equipment project. The public meeting is to give citizens an opportunity to become acquainted with the proposed project and obtain the views of the citizenry on such items as economic and environmental impacts, served area alternative to the project, or any other issue identified. Okay, number 2. The Village of Bellows Falls filed an application to the United States Department of Agriculture Community Facilities Program for $30,000 towards a $40,000 public safety building limited use, limited application, LULA, lift parts and repair project. The public meeting is to give citizens an opportunity to become acquainted with the proposed project and obtain the views of the citizenry on such items as economic and environmental impacts, served area, alternative to the project, or any other issue identified.
I guess just say
As
the hearing meeting acting chair.
As the hearing and meeting acting chair for public hearings, I will close the public hearings and meetings once we have received all available public testimony and then convene the regular meeting. I encourage all hearing and meeting participants to participate in these meetings. And now I'll open the floor to presentation and comment on the Vermont Community Development Program Chroma Technology Expansion Project.
Thanks, Ben.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ben.
Item one is going to be the Chroma project. I think we got Gary's there, and I'm sorry I can't remember your name off the top of my head. I should know it, but BFADC. But yeah, so I don't know if Gary wants to go first or.
Sure, I guess one of the things that we've looked at over the past couple of years is how important these commercial and industrial redevelopment projects are to reducing town-wide taxes and increasing grants. And so, an example with this Chroma project, the property taxes paid for the year 2018 to 19 during construction, while the value was stabilized at the pre-development level, was $60,356. For the 2019-2020 year, after the project was completed and the building was reassessed, the taxes paid by Chroma were $160,936, so an increase of 167%. Industrial.
Is there a question?
I just have one more stat to present, and then I'll turn it over to Bobby and to the floor. So the equipment assessment before the expansion project, the assessment on equipment in 2017-2018 year was $36,701 paid. During the 2019-2020 year, after the equipment was purchased and moved in, was $63,505, so an increase of 73%. And all told, an increase of close to $150,000 per year taxes paid to the town.
If you're finished, Gary, we'll turn it over to Bobby for comments, if she has any.
Sure. I'll just do sort of a high-level review of the project in and of itself. I'm Bobby Kilburn. I'm the Director of Finance and Grant Management for Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation. I was also the project manager on this renovation and addition project for the benefit of Chroma at 10 Imtech Lane. And my computer just decided to go to sleep. This project really enabled us to work with Chroma and the town of Rockingham and all of the other project team members to acquire and expand the existing facility that is and was located at 10 Imtech Lane. It allowed us to renovate the current facility as well as put an addition on, develop new employee parking, and we were able to purchase new equipment. And it really allowed Chroma to position itself to respond to increased market demand for their product. And if any of you have been following what's been happening as a result of COVID-19, Chroma has really seen an increase in their product demand and is working pretty diligently to meet that demand going forward. The project in and of itself is done and completed, and it was approximately $22 million worth of benefit to Chroma as well as to the surrounding Southern Vermont economy. That included acquisition of the real property, equipment purchases, new construction and remodeling, as well as oversight and program management. As a result of the project, I can update everyone as of the end of March, they have added 19 new positions and they continue to do so on a quarterly basis. It's something that I track and work with them to see what positions have been added and what additional workforce they're going to need going forward. So as of December or as of March, they now employ 127 people at the Rockingham facility. In addition to that, as you probably know, Chroma is a certified B Corporation, and they really have a commitment to being a socially responsible business. Their mission promotes that, and their hiring process also supports that going forward. In addition, they do contribute substantially to local organizations, and that is based on an annual charitable contribution budget. It includes 4 college scholarships to local high school students. They also have annual on-site drives for collecting of specific organizations and doing food drives for the local drop-in center, as well as an in-house pretty robust Secret Santa program for the benefit of preschools and elementary schools. I'm happy to answer some additional questions. I won't get into the weeds too much, but if there are specific questions, I'm happy to answer that.
Do we have any from the board or anyone present at this meeting at the station for Bobby or Gary? Hearing none, anybody from the public would like to comment? I guess we're getting off easy tonight, kids. Nobody wants to comment. So I think we can move on to the Robertson Paper Grant hearing. This is for the closeout. Gary, do you want to start with the intro, and then if we need to, Bobby wants to comment on that?
Sure. So the FABC started working with the project at the end of 2013. We purchased the property, had heavy contamination. At the time of applying for this grant, the Vermont Community Development Grant, the contamination identified included asbestos that was not covered by other funds, plus demolition of a crumbling, dilapidated building that was not covered by any other funds. So this was a crucial grant to allow the asbestos to be abated and the building demolished and taken down. And let's see, the total project expenditures at this point have been $972,146. There was close to, let's say, I think it's 1.1 million or 1.15 million in the project, and those remaining funds are, the intention of those is for the pre-development work to build a facility there for a manufacturer. And the main goals that were provided to the community development program for this project, it is an economic development program, whereas the goal for a lot of those is job creation. In this case, the goal was eliminating blight so that the property could be redeveloped. And the specific commitment to the program was to mitigate the human hazards by eliminating a blight threat posed by abandoned, contaminated, and failing structure in the downtown. The environmental assessment determined there was asbestos, lead, in the building materials throughout the structure and roof, which was partially collapsed. The soils present at the site were contaminated with concentrations of polycyclic or aromatic hydrocarbons, heavy metals, petroleum hydrocarbons, and the groundwater in the on-site water supply was contaminated with PAHs and heavy metals. Another goal was to reduce the potential threats to human health by remediating the soils on the site and return the site to a marketable, developable parcel. So that 1.67 acre parcel at 21 Island Street is in the designated downtown of Bellows Falls, and it's also in an opportunity zone, which allows for beneficial investment for folks with capital gains exposure. And it's now a remediated brownfield ready for commercial industrial redevelopment, as agreed to in the economic development funding. This project was also a brownfield economic revitalization alliance program, which made possible rallying state and federal sources for a complicated and valuable project. So that the BEARER program was really how $1 million from 5 different funding sources was able to be consolidated to fit the project. So, you know, some funds will work for petroleum, some for building contamination, some for water contamination, and the negotiation between the funders, how much was available, the regulatory barriers, those were all able to be worked through in an efficient manner so that all the funds could be applied and the project completed, is because it was a BEARER project. That's one of the reasons the BEARER program was instituted a few years back. And this project was the second BEARER project to be completed in the state. The third goal was to further the economic development goals of Bellows Falls by advancing recommendations of the 2013 Island Revitalization Plan, which is available on the town's planning page of our website. Those goals include business development, streetscapes improvements, better pedestrian traffic linkage between the island and Main Street. So the site is now ready and available to achieve its portion of that vision from the revitalization plan. And a portion of the remaining funds will be used for historic mitigation kiosks with some interpretive displays that are part of the federal requirements for the loss of history that we have with this project. And the last goal is to prepare the site for future business development, keeping with the industrial heritage of the island, including attracting light manufacturing and green industries, businesses focused on energy and technology, or commercial and office space. Bellows Falls Area Development Corporation has a site now ready for construction and can be built to suit for qualified companies looking to expand or relocate, and will utilize the majority of the remaining funds for pre-development work for a manufacturing facility. Phase 1 will be approximately 25,000 square feet and will incorporate the planning for 30,000 to 45,000 square foot phase 2 expansion. The reason for the variance there is that the company that is out 2 years, it's not clear the exact square footage that will be necessary. So those were the 4 goals in the grant, and it's important to meet the goals on set up in grant agreements. And yeah, that's the basic nut of the Robertson paper project. Bobby was involved. I just came into the project when it was a couple of years left in it. It was a 5-year project, and Bobby was involved in the first couple of years, and they have something to add and get in there. Or the administration of the project through last year, actually.
Okay, Bob, I guess you're on.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything specific to add. I think Gary did a great job providing an overview. I would say that this was really an opportunity for me to work with Gary to sort of build capacity on these types of projects moving forward, so that the capacity to is in-house both at BFADC as well as the town of Rockingham to move forward with additional types of projects. So I think he's done a great job on the overview. I don't have anything specific to add. And we look forward to the next steps as far as the development of the site is concerned.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any comments from the board?
No.
Any comments from the public that may be attending? Okay, I guess we're done.
No
with-
one's raising their hands.
No one is?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. I didn't see anybody. Okay, if there's no more need for Bobby, I guess you can sign off. I don't think you're on any of the rest of these
Great.
items that we have left here.
Well, thank you all for having me, and have a good rest of your meeting.
Nice to see you again.
You as well. Take care. Be
Yep.
safe, everyone.
Thanks. Okay, we'll move on to the Housing Preservation Grant application to USDA. I guess, Gary, you got this?
This program is a grant of $50,000 to eligible entities, which include town governments. And what this does is,
Hey, Gary, I'm so sorry. We can't really hear you.
is there a microphone somewhere that I could speak to? So this housing preservation grant provides the town with a fund we can use.
Still can't hear you, Gary.
We can't hear or see.
That's right. I
We
see it now, finally. There you go. Yeah, you were breaking up over there, Gary. I don't know, you couldn't.
Gary, move towards the computer. There you go.
That's only Stefan.
So this housing preservation grant provides the town with a fund that it can use to loan or grant to low and moderate income homeowners to effect repairs. So the town now has a nuisance ordinance, and one of the things the Planning Commission chair in developing this program had asked the Development Office if there were any programs that would help with incentives if someone was hit with a complaint from the nuisance ordinance, had to make repairs that they couldn't afford. Could we provide any incentive? And so this housing preservation grant is a fund that can do just that. The town can loan or grant it for repairs, and it can also, those funds can be combined with other programs that Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust and SEVCA have. And we have worked with Bruce Whitney at the Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust, who has offered to work with us in this program. And one of the things I'll just say about this is that we had started doing this planning a few months ago, and then when we were supposed to start the meetings with Wyndham Windsor and SEVCA, the COVID quarantine things hit, and we haven't put together agreements or specific programmatic working details, but there is a commitment for everyone to work together on these, and that's one of the requirements of the grants. They look for collaboration with other housing programs in the region to make programs work, especially with programs that have experience working in the renovation repair for low income and very low income homeowners. And yeah, I guess that's really all the pertinent information.
All right, does any of the other board have a questions? I have a couple here.
I'm all set.
Gary, just clarification here. It says in the memo you sent to Wendy, it says it's a 50-50 matching grant. Who has to put the 50-50 up?
So, I think that that match, they're recommending working with other housing programs. So if we work at a house, the parts that are eligible, an example would be the parts that are eligible for Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust. They would put in a portion of their funds that they do in that program. And the town, basically, I think with the nuisance ordinance, what they're, one of the things that the town was looking at was having a commission that reports to the select board that makes recommendations on this fund for housing repair. So it might be that they recommend contributing a $2,500 no interest loan or 1 or 2% interest loan, and Wyndham Windsor Housing Trust does the same thing. Or it may be that the town recommends a $1,500 grant, and Sevger's housing repair program puts in $1,500 of repair work also. So basically, an implementation of the grant, for every dollar of the grant that we spend, there has to be another dollar going into the project from somewhere. I think if the grant documents require proof of having $50,000 match available, there is a housing reserve fund at $50,000 that we can show we have the backing for the program, even though the match wouldn't actually come from that fund.
Okay, so what you're saying basically is the town doesn't have to come up with the funds, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it was just confusing because in the motion it says that there's we have to commit the 50,000 matching, and I was just wondering where it came from. But I guess you answered my question when you said the reserve fund. So I guess that answers that second part of that question.
It can also come from the homeowner. If the homeowner has a $3,000 repair and the town grants $1,500, the homeowner can contribute $1,500. So there's a variety of ways that the program will be implemented.
Yeah, I'm just thinking as conversations in the past have gone as far as the impact on, taxes going forward, where that, if we have to, town has to pay the money, but with the reserve fund already being committed, that doesn't really come into play here, I don't think.
Correct, yes.
Okay, anybody else have any questions?
All set.
So I guess moving forward on this, I guess we need to proceed with the recommended motion. Is that correct, Gary?
No, sorry.
Yeah. No, we're still in the hearing, so we can't do it. Correct.
Yeah, so when the select board convenes again after the public hearing.
Okay, yeah, no, we'll just all run together here on my sheet. That's all. Just any other questions for Gary on the housing application? This is a hearing. We don't take action on it during the hearing. Hearing done, we'll move on to the Rockingham Fire Equipment Grant application. Who's Gary, is that you again, or Wendy gonna run this one? Or I know that the last select board meeting, we did approve that in conjunction with the vote at town meeting for the $12,500 and the money that the fire department itself was gonna contribute.
Yeah, so exactly, you could present on this one. I mean, you sort of just did. It's basically the way the program runs, this community facilities grant, they require a public hearing after you file the application, but
Correct.
before the decision period. So that's exactly it. We had the discussion at the select board meeting last month. The select board approved filing the grant. We submitted the grant, and this is to let the public know about it and record comments to submit to the USDA before they make their decision on the grant. But it's basically it's exactly what we discussed at the board meeting. It's firefighting equipment. Some of it is new that we don't have that adds capability to fight off-road fires and rescue persons from off-road situations. Some of it replaces the air tanks to go in for oxygen that have a specific lifespan according to the regulatory body, and the ones that we have are at the end of their regulated lifespan. Same with some of the hoses that are, some of them are worn through and need to be replaced, and some of them we don't have enough to reach some areas, and so there's more hose of different diameters. And that's basically this. What this grant does is it replaces the air packs so people have enough equipment to go for oxygen to go into buildings, the equipment to go off-road for fires and for rescuing people off-road, and same with the hoses. It purchases all of those items that our Rockingham Volunteer Fire Department is in need of now.
Okay, do we have any questions from the board?
I'm all set.
Hearing none. Public comment? Don't see anybody raising their hands. You, Shannon?
No, no public comment.
Okay. We'll move on to the next one, which doesn't really involve the town, but because it's a village issue for the village fire department building. But it is a public hearing, so we do need to speak about it to make it public. So it's the public safety building for a grant to USDA for the Lula lift, sort of a elevator of types the same as we have the town hall. That has not been in operation for several years, and this grant is to see what needs to be done and to provide the funds to do the repairs, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I'm looking at the application here. So the village, I believe, at their last meeting or somewhere thereabouts, they did approve I believe they approved the village portion of this, the money. I believe estimated funding, if I'm correct here, it says $40,000 is what they're estimating for the repairs to get that operational again.
30,000 would come from the grant, and 10,000 is village match that is in the village budget proposal.
Yeah, it says federal for 30, and the applicants, which is the village, will be putting up 10,000. A total of 40 on this sheet that I've got for the application. So that being said, does the board have any questions?
Comment really quickly.
Peter, Gary does.
Okay, go ahead, Gary.
So just the importance of this grant for using this meeting room in the days when people congregating in the same room was allowed and we didn't have Zoom, that elevator would have to operate to hold this meeting here. And when the elevator was operating, I know the fire department indicated they had trainings up here. I know I used to come to meetings here with the police department, fire department, prevention coalition. There was a lot of groups that came together around having a safe community, fighting opioid addiction. And it was a really useful place to meet where on things that did involve a lot of police department and fire department interactions. And so, like you said, it's been a long time since any of that's been able to happen because the lift has been down since 2012 or 13, something like that.
Okay, any further comments? Public comment? Hearing none. At this point, I would suggest we close the public hearing on the grants that are being proposed, because the other items here are for action, and we shouldn't be taking that action in a public hearing. That being said, we need to designate a municipal authorizing official for grants. Now, it does name Mr. Wise as the interim manager, but by vote, Mr. Wise doesn't take that position until the 15th, and the PM1 sheet here has the date of the 5th of May. I don't know if that's in conjunction with a housing grant that's going in that's due for the 7th, Gary. We may have to change that designation if that's correct.
The recommendation is to, for the resolution to say effective May 16th, and change the date on the PM1. It's basically for the community development grant. This PM1 is so that as of May 16th, Chuck can be added to the to that grant as the municipal authorizing official and can do the submission of, well, it's pretty much, there'll be a couple more requisitions and for administrative costs and a closeout report.
Okay, I just want to get that clarified because the date says the 5th, so.
Yeah, my mistake. It should say May 16th, effective May 16th in the resolution. And then you can write that on the form over, or I'll make a new one for signature.
Yeah, I don't know if you need that signed tonight because it's,
No, this is the signature.
there's only 2 members there current to sign this.
This PM1 is specific to not community development.
But that's for the 16th.
Yes, it is.
So do you want to do a new sheet or do you want to use this one and just change the date on it?
I think that's fine if you initial it, yeah.
Okay, because as I say, you're not going to have a quorum to sign this tonight. There's only 2 people there. And I don't see, I don't know, I'll have to find a third one somewhere.
I'll make a new one then, and that's fine. But we can,
Yeah, what you can do is vote on it tonight. These 2 can sign it, and then you can come by and sign it sometime later this week. Okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I just, it's not official till at least the quorum signs, that's all. Okay. So let's do the motion to authorize Chuck Wise as interim manager to act as the municipal authorizing official as of May 16th. So if someone can make a motion.
I'll make the motion that we authorize and designate the municipal authorizing official as Chuck Wise, effective May 16th for the grants.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor would vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Now the PM1 form will be signed by 2 board members tonight, Stefan and Ben. And then the third one, either myself or Katana will stop by sometime in the office, I guess, or down in the lobby and sign it, so you'll have it official. I'll try and get in tomorrow. I'm usually in during the day, get my constitutional done. Now, Wendy, you had on here the housing grant. Has that been covered or?
No, this recently item that I received was voted on to actually file the grant. So we need a motion to authorize the town to file the USDA Housing Preservation Grant as submitted.
I'll make the motion that we authorize the town to file the housing preservation grant application as submitted.
You hear a second?
Okay, yeah.
Motion is made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor would vote aye. Oh, excuse me, Wendy's waving a hand back there.
Yeah, just hearing, there's a motion.
Well, do we need that? Do we need to actually add that? Because it's basically it's stated in the motion, the authorized municipal official, so we need to.
We normally do, and I didn't have Gary's motion in front of me. Gary had a sample motion. But normally we do authorize someone to sign it, and this needs to be done soon.
Okay, well, hold on a second here. All right, so I'll interject, authorize the municipal manager and or the interim municipal manager. Is this going to be done before the 16th?
Yes. It's gonna be done.
Yeah. All right. Okay, then I'll go ahead and interject that the municipal manager and or interim municipal manager to execute all grant application and related documents.
Now do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Did you get that, Sue?
I did, yep.
Okay, any discussion further? No? Questions?
Hello,
Hello?
Gaetano here.
Yeah,
I'm in the meeting.
okay. You gonna take it?
No, sir, I don't know what'll happen, but I'd like to be present for the meeting.
You broke up on that. Come
Keep
back.
going. Thank you.
Okay, all right. We're authorizing the, we're gonna authorize if we can vote in the affirmative to the preservation grant. Gary's gone over it and updated everybody. So there, from what I understand, there's no town funds involved other than the $50,000 reserve account that we have in there for the housing. It's already been put in there in the budget. You all set on that? Don, I think we lost you. I got you on video, but I don't have you on voice.
I'm not talking.
Okay, that's why I don't have you. All right, the motion been made and seconded to approve the authorization for the USDA section 533 Housing Preservation Grant for $50,000 and have the municipal manager or the interim municipal manager to execute all grant applications related documents. All those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries, I guess. Is Everett there? I don't see Everett in there for the public works section.
We would.
I'm here.
Yeah, right here.
Sarah, Peter.
Pardon?
So we can say, I know, I just want to say. I like.
Right then.
So Peter, I can start, okay, yeah. Do you want me to start this one off?
You might as well, unless Everett's, if he comes in, we'll have him finish up. But no.
I'm here, but Wendy did a little more legwork on this.
Hey, guys, Everett's trying to speak.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I am here, but Wendy did a little more legwork on this. I think you and Wendy and actually Peter did on this item. So actually, I'll let Wendy start with this one.
Are you good? Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Wendy.
So, Harold Buckner, also known as Bucky.
Hold on. I
Property.
can't hear Wendy.
Okay. There's a property in Saxton's River, 26.1 Main Street. Can you hear me now? And he has been working on renovating this property. and he contacted the town quite a while ago, actually. And we've been going back and forth. There's an addition to the building that's a roof that covers a sidewalk. And the sidewalk is likely town right of way. We don't have documentation of that except for the V-Trans map that Everett can show you. The question that Mr. Buckner has for the town is, does the town want to continue to keep that structure there? If he needs to remove it, he'd rather the town help with the cost of removal. But he's bringing this up to the town to ask what the town would like to do. Evidently, there was a lot more foot traffic there previously because it connects two streets, and it actually was a street a long time ago. But the foot traffic has reduced. Everett has some specific concerns. Mr. Buckner sent a quote to me, and I forwarded that. That's what's in your packet. That the roof could be repaired for $3,000. If the town does want to proceed with that repair, he asked that the town contract directly with Jones or whoever else we would want to do it. But he would like the town to be to have a direct relationship with the contractor if that's what the town wants to do.
Okay, yeah, in addition to that, a little bit of background here. When Mr. Almond moved his antique business into that building that Bucky owns, I happened to bump into Mr. Buckner down there, had a little chat with him, at which point he told me that Mr. Almond was moving in there, but I had already heard that ahead of him. But he then mentioned about the roof that covers the sidewalk. He said that his people have looked at that roof and the only thing needs to be done is the metal needs to be replaced. Now, if you read the estimate from the roofing company, they're looking at redoing the roof and the underlayment and the metal. When this first came up, this was last fall, I believe it was, or early winter. And I had mentioned it to Wendy at one time, maybe have Bruce go out and take a look at it and see what he thought about doing it if the town wanted to get involved and let the town labor do it. And I never got a resolution from that. I don't know if Wendy ever followed up on that or whether it got lost in the shuffle somewhere or what, but just so you know what that's the background there. And then the problem we're having now is find out who owns that, whether the town is responsible. Somewhere in the town records, there is some notice that the town is responsible for that, but nobody can seem to pinpoint it in the research. I've since contacted Louise Loring, and she's come up with about 5 additional names to check, including Christ Church. The Academy Avenue was thrown up, according to Everett's research, in 1949 was designated a class 4 road, which means that the town still owns it, but they don't have to keep any maintenance to it. Don't have to do any maintenance. So I don't know what the board wants to do. If they want to get another estimate or.
I have a question.
Pardon?
I have a comment when it's my turn.
Yep, I'll get to you. I see your finger flashing there.
Okay.
You know, I've driven bus there, and when I was driving bus, there's only 4 or 5 kids that came up from River Street and used that sidewalk. But it is covered to keep anybody that uses that, the snow from coming off the roofs and nailing somebody. I don't know who constructed the roof, but according to Bucky's last email to Wendy and myself today, he says it's a town owned. So I guess the quandary becomes, what do we want to do? Take it down, remove it, and see if we have to do something with it later, or do we repair it and let it go at that? My suggestion, maybe go back to Bucky and see if we can get a 2-week hiatus on a decision till the next meeting and see if we can find in this research that confirm either we do or don't own it. Now that we have some additional names here to go back to and see if they have anything in the records that say that the town owns that and is responsible. So go ahead, Gaetano, I'll let you start off.
Yep, I don't need to go on and on. I couldn't hear Wendy very well, but I agree with the last part. I think we need to confirm the legality of who owns it and who's responsible for it before we can really make a decision at this point. And just lastly, the structural integrity looked weak to me, so I find it hard to believe that it just needs a new roof. I do think there's some things that also need repair. So that's separate, but I do think we need to find out who owns it, who's responsible before going much further.
Pete?
Yeah,
Can
go
I say
ahead.
something? No,
Yeah.
I agree with Gaetano. I looked at it driving by, and the pictures you might see don't show it, but I think you're looking at replacing all those posts before you're done. You know, I think you're going to be into it for more than 3.
It could be. I'm just taking his word for what he said. His men looked at it and considered that all it needed was a tin roof, because it's the tin on it now is all rusted, and that's why he just doesn't like the looks of it, I guess. So yeah, it's nuts to do something with it. So that's why it's on the agenda. So I can get into the office when I go to sign that application there tomorrow. I can leave the names of all the people I got listed here. That it goes back, and maybe we can check and see if there's anything in the road records for Academy Avenue extension that you found in the state records. It was 1949. We have something in there that says who owns it or whatever. But so I'm still waiting for Louise to get back to me on the McIntyres. They were one of the parties that ran the store out there in that building when it was a grocery store. If you remember the McIntyres, they ran Pizza Paul and Mary, where Main Street Arts new building is now. And I don't know if they're trying to find McIntyres or what, but they may be able to shed some light on it. If we can find out the first name of the McIntyre family, we might be able to research it quicker at the town hall in the vault.
Do we know how frequently this is used as a sidewalk?
Yeah, it's paved. I don't know who paved it, and it's probably about maybe 3.5, maybe 4 feet wide, and it's got some posts, and there's concrete pillar that's about a foot off the ground, so the posts don't rot, and it posted on that, and it supports like about a 5-foot wide roof, and it sheds the snow because the Christ Church has a slate roof on it.
Slate.
Flies off of that, and I don't know. I think the other building has just a regular a shingle.
It's like a metal roof.
So it's just a protection. So many screws in, and people still use it crossing down the River Street because they don't want to walk away around the other way. So I think
So it is used.
Yeah, it's still used. Yeah.
And it did say that in the quote that to replace it's $400 for each post, and I'm counting 8. Maybe there's more. I can't quite tell from the photo.
Yeah, I remember myself. I'd have to go and look at it. So we're almost double.
Yeah, I agree to get more information and visit this in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Hey, Pete?
Yeah, go ahead, Everett.
One more thing on this though is if that roof is not there, you know, that roof is actually throwing the snow further out in the middle of that right away. So if the roof is removed, someone maybe could do the math on it. There might be a pathway down the middle, you know, that you can actually have like a 5-foot walkway and plow that during the time we plow the rest of the sidewalks.
If you look at the picture of it, you'll see there's 2 Jersey barriers there that are blocking that driveway, so you can't plow it anyway. Unless you take those out, and I think those
Jersey barrier can be removed.
I think but I think they belong to Christ Church. I think that's who put it there, so nobody would use that as a driveway.
That could be, but if it's a right of way, that's it's our right of way. It is a class 4 right of way. It's on the state maps that way.
Any other further comments? It looks like we don't have any action to take on this tonight. And we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting on the 19th. Hearing none, let's move on to the next item, which is Saxon River sidewalk update. Everett, you still got the lead on this one.
Sure, okay, thanks. Okay, this is, no decision is needed tonight on this. Just so you know, if you want to look at, maybe it was emailed to you, I don't know, but the Saxon River sidewalk RFP is out to bid right now. There's a bunch of interest on it. It'll be Main Street from Pleasant Street toward Bellows Falls, 400 feet. It'll be 300 feet on Pleasant Street, and then that'll be reconstruct, both of those, the 400 feet and the 300 feet. On Pleasant Street, there'll be an overlay of approximately 300 feet. And Grove Street, I can get into all this detail if you want, Pete, or not on the Grove Street, but my feeling is there's a lot of work needed on Grove Street. What we'll do is we'll pull the pavement, we regrade it a little bit and repave it. If you start,
Are you gonna need to get permission to take property out there, right, eminent domain or something on that?
No,
That's
not if we do this. If we do this, just pull the pavement, we're gonna basically pull it, regrade it, repave it. We're in the same spot.
right.
It needs a lot more than that for this whole thing to be done, say with a wall and a curb and done correctly. And you're basically going to be back into that property line quite a bit.
Right.
You're talking a project.
There's a maple tree right there that you could very easily kill.
Oh, you would. And
Yeah,
so,
I think Lori Rowell's folks own that property too, so
okay.
might be a way to check on that if we have to get into that far.
And once we get the bids, I can assess how much we're talking about just to do, we don't want to spend a lot on it, but if we can do this and you get 10 years out of it,
yeah,
you might be all right.
Well, you saw that section that popped up there, and it's heaved right up in good shape. I think the winter did that. I don't think anything else did. I don't think everybody pulled it up. But
Right. I'm glad Chris Carroll didn't hit that one.
yeah,
That would have stopped him pretty short, I think.
that's Scott, by the way.
Oh, Scott, that's right. Sorry. Yep.
But yeah, was my only concern on that on Grove Street. There was that would we have to get into widening? You did mention widening, and I don't think there's a wall of any sort there unless you widen that out and you have to put a wall in there. Right now, it's just a dirt bank that goes down to the street, to Grove Street from the
Right.
sidewalk.
Yeah, right now, we're not gonna be widening it. It's gonna come
yeah.
out at 4 and go back at 4, but it really should go back at 5.
Yeah.
But this will get it so we can get by probably another, like I said, 5, probably 10 years anyway, easy.
Yeah, it's in your right up here on the Grove Street that you was maybe thinking about a 5 foot, right? If we had to change it over to 5 foot, and the trees mentioned there too.
Right.
So I guess,
And maybe eventually down the road, or maybe one of those safe routes to school.
yeah,
One of those
yeah,
grants to
yeah,
take care of the whole thing.
yeah. I see
And,
there.
so we're gonna be, this is gonna be, the bid that's out will be more than what's in the budget. It'd probably be 30 to 50,000 range. So, after Shannon does the financials, next 3 days, I'll have a recommendation on, once the bids come in on, do we want to do more than $30,000 or not? We have 30,000 in the budgets between the current budget and next year's budget.
Yeah, I might be off base here, but I went back to the 2019 town report. We had budgeted $12,000 for the Saxon River sidewalk, and it was never
15.
We can't use funds though from a
No, I was
previous.
just gonna ask you that, Shannon, on that.
Yeah, so my recommendation, we cannot use funds from previous year's budget, so we could use funds from this year. And then also for starting in July 1st. So if we split the work, we could use whatever we have in the FY20 budget and the FY21, but the FY19 budget we can't use.
Well, research on the statute in the state of Vermont and the VLCT treasurer's handbook does say that if you don't use it in 1 year, you can roll it over to the following year. So
If you guys had approved that.
doesn't say it has to be approved. It just says it can't be used. If it's in the highway, you can't take it out of highway and put it in something else.
No, right. So it's in the highway unassigned fund balance, but it hasn't been reassigned to anything.
I'm just thinking that might be an extra source for another 12,000 if we need it for sidewalks. But if that's how it's got to work, it's how it's got to work, I guess.
Anyway, we'll have a recommendation for you in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, you want to hit the next one? That sounds another fun one there, by the looks of things.
Okay, this one goes back a number of years. You know, every town seems like in Vermont's got a lot of wall problems. So they've got, you know, structural large box culverts that need replacing. Probably 8-10 years ago, whoever the manager was at the time, Mike and I looked at it, and it's like, geez, what do we do? Cherry Hill wall or this wall here? So the Cherry Hill wall was a little more important at the time. We're just finishing that up. So we're not really due for a structured grant counting construction at this point in time. If you do that, you'll probably get denied. So the best thing we can do is actually put in for a grant application to begin the engineering on this Front Street retaining wall. So I put the numbers together in there. You know, it'll look at a number of options. Actually, I talked to Chuck about this, and Chuck kind of in our texting back and forth rattled these three off. I concur. That sounds good to me. So number one is abandon the section of hill of Front Street, the hill section. That'll be one that could be looked at. Number two is partial condemnation of the house at 7 Old Terrace. I don't know if I should be saying this online or not, but anyway, it's out there. Number three, reconstruction of new retaining wall from Old Terrace to the top of the hill. But there's a bunch of utilities in there that have to be looked at. So, and we do want to know what the right of way is. So down below, I've got a bunch of things that'll be included in comprehensive in this 25-280. It'll be investigating all those three options. You know, topographic survey and a right of way. Soils investigation of the three options that I mentioned. Locate the utilities to investigate the conditions of water, sewer, and drain. Preliminary road design of the preferred option. Meetings with the town, a preliminary layout for the cast in place foundation repair, it's the last replacement. Preliminary design of wall, construction cost estimates, and final design of the wall and construction plans and bid package. And probably this is a good time, and between Steph and May agree and Deb, to look at that agreement between village and town, you know, saying, okay, if there's a water line that needs to be redone, look, you know, try to ahead of time, how will that be funded? You know, because there's not many projects like that happen like that in town. Cherry Hill Wall is the only one I can remember in 20 years. This would be the next one.
Yeah.
You know, that there might be some utilities that have to be dealt with.
Yeah, a couple of
I've got
things.
some ideas on that could be talked about it someday. You know, you guys can talk about it in the future. I can
Couple of
pass
things
them along to Chuck.
Come to mind as I'm looking at this. You know, currently Front Street is one way now from West Street or Center Street all the way over to the 121. So when you're doing this plowing, there's no place to turn around. There's driveways all the way down there. So if you look at abandoning the hill section, you gotta think about how you're gonna plow that and where you're gonna turn around, because otherwise you gotta back all the way up to Avenue B to get out. Same with fuel trucks and delivery trucks that go in there. Anybody's looked at, it's pretty narrow.
Mhm.
You go on Google Maps and pull up Front Street, and it's pretty narrow there. So somebody, before they roll a truck all the way down that hill, it's a long ways down to the bottom behind that school down there. So
Right.
that's something to think about. And the other thing that we could do too is if abandoning that is just, you got a stone wall there on the bottom of Vogel's property. I don't know if that's going to be involved. If you have to do any trenching or digging up over there, it's not a very tall wall, but it does connect to that front wall on Red Light Hill, which is going to be needing some work somewhere down the road too. If you look at it, I know when I walk up that hill, it's leaning out some, not drastically, but it's starting to lean out.
Okay. So this is just to put in a grant application.
Yeah. I'm just throwing some ideas out there so when you get something to think about.
Right. And we'll either be the 10% of the cost of the 25-280 or 20%. I'm thinking we're at the 10%, but I didn't want to promise that to the board to have you see 20% later.
Yeah. You think with the bid documents and stuff, that's going to be 25 or 26,000 is going to be enough?
This is just a design. I mean, it's not doing the wall. It's not construction.
You know, I know, but I'm just saying sometimes bid documents and design can cost you.
Well, if you want to get real complicated, you could, depends on who you hire. You could actually beef this up way higher than that, or if you want to round it up to 30,000 with contingency, we can do that. Simple enough on a grant application.
Up to the board. I hate to run at 25 and find out we're short, but that's, you know, it's the board's decision, not mine.
What's the time frame for this grant, Everett? It's a rolling application?
Okay, if it's approved, it'll be approved probably the next 2 or 3 months, okay? And then there's 2 years to do the work. So my feeling is if this is approved, the work can be done between now and next year, or maybe at least the next 2 years. You know, if we think we're gonna be ready next year for this, for the construction grant, I'd have it ready for next year. If it's not gonna be, you know, give someone the latitude of 2 years to do the work in, you'll probably get a little bit better engineering price. You know, if you don't push them. So, but they give you 2 years to do the work.
Any other comments from the other board? Catano?
I guess I'm a little confused. It's 26 grand match for design.
Well, we only pay 10 to 20% of that. So it'd be 52 or 2,600.
So one or the other, we don't know yet.
That's Everett's estimate.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be, Gaetano, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be 10%, which is a 2,600. But
I'm in favor.
I don't want to promise you that, and then I'm out the door by the time you get back, and they're gonna tell you, oh, you gotta have all your culverts analyzed or something, and they're gonna say you're gonna be at 20%.
No, I support it. If it's for a 10 or 20% match for design, I support that.
What about increasing it up to 30,000? To give us that little extra leeway. Do you know what the average is for this type of grant, a design grant?
You just broke up. What's that again? I didn't catch that.
Just want to know if you want to go to 30 grand and instead.
Yeah, no, 30 grand would give you some extra cushion. I would recommend, you know, give it a contingency of extra 5,000, call it 30,000.
Let's do it.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions? If not, I'll take a motion to have a application for the grant. Anybody want to make a motion?
Yep. I'll move that I recommend the town apply for a V-Trans structure grant in to investigate the above options for Front Street.
Yep.
Retaining wall and prepare plans that can be used for a V-Trans structural grant of the preferred option.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Gaetano. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, on to number 3, introduction and overview of the new website.
Thank you, Everett.
Okay, thank you. Yep. Have a good night.
Take care.
Thanks, Everett.
Okay.
Wendy or Chuck gonna run with this one, the introduction to your new website, or?
Bonnie's there. Oh, sorry.
No, I'll do an introduction and then yes, we have Bonnie here, we have Chuck here, and Shannon's gonna change her screen so that it shows.
I can't hear Wendy at all. If she could just maybe move forward, I can't hear her. Thank you.
Okay. So, sorry for my back. Here I am.
Oh, perfect.
Okay. So the website is obviously our main outreach tool, you know, other than word of mouth. And we looked at making it helpful to both people who live here and use it a lot, and then also helpful to folks who are looking at us for the first time. Those could be people who want to visit here. Those could be people who are looking at possibly taking a job here, investing in property, all sorts of folks. So we tried to make it useful for as wide of a scope as we could. So on the screen now is the homepage. We can obviously change the picture. We lost that ability on our other site. Shannon, if you could go down just a little, actually, I'm sorry, so I'll explain about the homepage. Stop there though. Go back just a tiny bit. The old site, the rockbf.org site, we've kept that and we're using it as a legacy site. The amount of materials that we have stored on the current site is just immense. And our new host doesn't have the ability to store all that material. So what we're going to do is, for now, we're keeping the rockbf.org, and I'll talk more about the actual address, but we're keeping that site as a legacy site. So, for example, if you want to find minutes or agendas from years ago, you go to the legacy site, and then it's all arranged as you would be familiar with. So this is the homepage. This is the text part of the homepage. The old homepage had history information, which was great, but what we've done is we moved the history to a different section, and the homepage is supposed to be up-to-date news. Like, for example, the lister's notice that I just read, that's at the top of the center column. And Bonnie's done a great job of keeping up with this, especially during COVID. We've wanted to provide information not only about what the town's doing, but about businesses who are open and ways you can help, and links to sites, the federal site and the state sites, because we want people to be able to get the latest information. So all those links are on the sites, or on this site. So now, Shannon, if you could just go back to the top. When we previewed the new website at the town meeting in March, early March, what people really liked was this bar at the top where it says click here for upcoming municipal meetings. So what that does is it goes to all of the upcoming meetings. So today it's still the 5th, so you see this meeting. And if you click on the agenda is shown very conveniently with the meeting, so that you don't have to go to the menu of agendas to get to the next meeting. So there will be the select board meetings, the trustee meetings, as well as committee meetings will be on this, and they already are on this. I should say also, it's a work in progress. We really want people to let us know what they think, try it out. I'm not going to go to every page, but Shannon, if you can go to the list up at the top of departments. Our old website didn't have all of the departments listed, and the departments that it did list, they were divided into Rockingham departments and Bellows Falls departments. And while people who are familiar with our structure would know which place to go, people from elsewhere, and even a lot of residents, wouldn't necessarily know, for example, that the Opera House is Rockingham and not Bellows Falls. So what we did was we listed all the departments in alphabetical order, and we indicated in parentheses which entity they're part of, so that people can understand the structure. And so let me discuss a little bit the name. We have rockbf.org. We own that name for, we think, until 2029. And certainly we own it for many years. And we're going to continue to use that for our email addresses. There is a convention where .gov is a more secure website. It's the official government type of website. There have been issues where folks have pretended that they were government sites, but you can't do that with the .gov site. They make it really, really difficult to get an address. The federal government is responsible for that process. That costs $400 a year. We can have Rockingham, the convention, and it's set by others. We don't have a choice. It's the name of the municipality and then the two state name .gov. That's the only way you can get one of these addresses. So no one, only the town of Rockingham, Vermont can ever get the Rockingham VT .gov designation. No one else can get that. Same with Bellows Falls. Bellows Falls VT.gov can only be obtained by the village of Bellows Falls. So we had to pick at least one because the website is funded in the town budget and was not in the village budget. I chose to start with the Rockingham VT.gov process. It still isn't finished. I put in the application probably 6 weeks ago. We still have not gotten the final approval. That's why we've used the ROCKINGHAMBT.org in the meantime. But that's probably because of COVID, but they do say that it takes a while. There's a lot of verification to make sure that you actually are the government who's requesting that name. The BellowsFallsBT.gov address is waiting whenever the village wants to use it. It's completely up to the village to use that site or that name rather. It does cost $400 a year. Did I say $400 a month before? It's $400 a year. Okay, so it costs $400 a year. So if the village does want to budget for that, both addresses can be directed to the same website. So wherever you get, however you get there, you would see the screen at the homepage that we have there. So that's really something that can be done whenever the village wants to. If the town doesn't want to have ROCKINGHAMBT.gov, we can cancel it. We can't probably get our money back for this year, but you can cancel it for future years. None of this is not undoable. It's all undoable. Let me think what else. Eventually we will have online payments. That's a goal. We did put all the permits on one page. So previously certain permits were on the town manager's page, other permits are in planning, and then we have other permits elsewhere. So all of the permits are on one page. They're also on the page of the department that handles it. So for example, the building and construction permits, those are all on this page, but they're also on the planning department page. So now let me turn it over to Bonnie, or if Chuck wants to make any comments. We worked with Bonnie North. Her background is in publishing, print publishing, and then she transitioned to website design. And I had gotten informal quotes from others that were 2 to 4 times as much as what Bonnie is charging us. She's also, in addition to website development, she's also contracted to do training, which we had started that in early March, but obviously had to stop that for COVID because we really need to do one-on-one training. That's something where Bonnie needs to sit with the staff.
Well, may I ask you, how much is it costing?
The development is $2,300, which is a real bargain.
And how about the training?
That's included in the training. We're paying on an hourly basis, $25 an hour, which is again ridiculously inexpensive.
Raise my hand.
Kind of service.
Hello.
Okay, Bonnie.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I like, well, I don't like, is you have the heading up there, town of Rockingham, Village Bellows Falls. The town of Rockingham should be spent above the town of Village Bellows Falls.
Okay, we can do that.
You have it to the right.
Okay, good, thank you.
Or you're
Bonnie,
I'm not exactly centered, you're right. Okay, I'll fix that easy enough.
did you want to add anything, Bonnie?
Well, I'd just like to say that I'm here if anybody wants to question any of the costs. I can tell you exactly what I've invoiced so far and why at this point it looks like I will continue to invoice. I think maybe people might want to know that. Yes?
Which is because we don't have staff to
So originally, this came up in the first place. I'd just like to make this clear. I didn't approach Wendy and say, hey, I'm looking for work. Can I make your website? This came up during the town vision meetings that the Vermont Community Foundation started. One of the meetings, everybody was complaining aggressively about the town website, how dreadful it was, how useless it was, how if you were from outside of town and thinking about coming here for even a day trip, you probably wouldn't come. And in the discussion, I chimed in, but I agreed very much with that. And I felt that the town really needed something that presented it much better. And in the discussion, it came up that I knew how to do that. I made a very simple site for the planning commission. And one thing led to another, and it was suggested that I make a proposal and give it to Wendy. So I did. And the proposal is on record, and it was for $2,300 to design the basic structure of a new website through a template provider called Squarespace, and to train department heads on how to use it. So for that, for the development of the website, I billed $2,143. I still haven't done training because of pandemic challenges. And then after the pandemic got going and town hall shut down, there was no one that could really work the old rockbf.org site, but Chuck Wise. And he was transferred to emergency management. And it sort of fell to me to keep that updated with all these, you know, ever-changing announcements and things that were important. Simultaneously, I put the same information on the new site I'd made because we weren't sure when we would switch to the new site. So there was invoices that $625 that are specific for COVID-19 response. They can be billed that way, I understand, for the town. My invoices are earmarked as COVID-19 response. And since then, it was requested that I flesh out the new site much better, since the original plan was that staff would migrate information from the old site to the new site. There's no staff to do that, so I've been doing that. And I'm probably going to have to keep doing that until staff can be trained. So that's where the costs are.
For the moment, yeah.
Question. I noticed the new website does not have the packets included, just the agendas. Is that by design for some reason or other? The old website, you could click on it, you have the agenda and the packet information.
Yeah, there's a reason.
I don't think that's necessary to have all that stuff in there because half people don't read it anyway. So they're just interested in what's on there.
The new website host has a data limit, how big a file you can upload. Not all of the packets, but some of the packets. There was one recently that contained a bunch of photos. It broke the limit. It couldn't be hosted on the new web host.
Yeah, no, some of them, I know there's one at one point, there's like 90 pages or something that totally nobody was going to read it on a computer anyway. So I don't have
25, 30 megabyte packets sometimes you have. So I asked, is it a legal requirement to have that packet? And I was told no. So that's why I haven't been putting the packets up there. Now, the old rockbf.org, through the hosting provider, their Gov office, does have the capacity to hold these bigger files. So that's why we are keeping that legacy site alive. And another task for the future, which I might do or staff might do, is to take everything off of that legacy site that is no longer pertinent and reorganize it a bit into simply storage for old archive files and larger files. So that's a decision for the future. It hasn't been decided yet what to do.
Anyone else have any comments, questions for Bonnie?
Nope, other than the site looks great. Bonnie, for all the time involved in that and dealing with our old site as well this time.
Okay, sure.
No questions or comments at this time, but thank you very much. It does look great. I spent some time on it the other day. Thank you.
Well, good. I hope everybody likes it. The get to know us section is something new that wasn't really planned in my initial proposal. And it can be made bigger and even better if there's a desire for that. But I think it's a place where we can really promote our town. And I think it would be beautiful and useful. So thank you all very much.
Thanks, Bonnie. Okay, let's move on to item number 4, which is the recycling operation in your packet. There are 3 sheets in there. One was a press release for May. Did one last year. We need to get one into the town of Westminster. They like to put it in their Westminster Gazette, and they need it by the end of the month. There's some information in there basically about the bag prices and going up. The only thing I haven't covered, and I need to talk to Gary on DeRosa down there about, is food scrap. Currently, we have a budget of $1,400. We're about $1,100 into that right now. We weren't charging because it wasn't mandatory, but as of July 1st this year, it's going to be mandatory, and I think we can probably going to see a spike, which we may have to figure out a price to charge. If you look at the price, the price list, prices only went up as the tire price went up, and some of the other went up a couple of bucks because of the prices are going up. So the trash bags, we try to keep going to the point where if you had, it's tied into the tickets. If you look at the old price, there was $1.25. If you had the white bag or the small bag, you had the larger bag, which required 2 tickets. It was $2.50, which is double $1.25. And that's basically what we did with the proposed prices. Construction debris went up to 15 cents a pound, which we discussed last year, but we stuck to the 10 cents. And I see Gary's on here, so you got any comments, Gary, you want to make on this or any of it?
No, we talked about it. I talked about it, I think, with Wendy and Shannon too during budget work. I don't think there's any surprises there. As I said, most of the fees that we're recommending that increase we're talking about a $2 increase on most anything on the price list. Nothing more than the $2, I don't believe, as far as the pricing goes. And it's been quite some time since we've made a price increase on our items, with the exception of this scale.
Yeah.
But
So
no,
going on to the site options, this was in, I made this up. I talked to Gary a little bit about the turn lane there one day when I was down there. And took that from his suggestion that might have to relocate it. But when Ben took that picture and sent it in saying there was an accident ready to happen, that's not the first time. Didn't surprise us. We've seen it before. Every time we go through the process of selling tickets or something, people, they just back up, and the continual conversations at the dumpsters themselves create the issue as much as anything else. And this year it's COVID-19, unfortunately, that creates the issues. One car at a time and keep moving, but sometimes it doesn't work. So I just got thinking about a few things here, and I know last year that we had talked about the signage down there up on top of the hill and at the bottom of the hill about something about turning traffic, slow traffic, traffic turning and things, but if Westminster is going to participate there, we need to have them involved when we talk to V-Trans about that. And I just thought that we should have 2 lights up, 2 signs on top, one before the entrance road to the high school, because if you've ever been down there when there's a football game or soccer or anything else going on up there. Traffic there is the same as it is trying to get into the recycling center. So we may even be able to get a letter from the school department in support of whatever we're trying to do that would help them out also. A turn lane, Route 5, you can't go on the southbound side, or you could, but it's going to be quite expensive to go on that side with the drainage issue you got there, plus a steep bank. So Gary suggested, well, I might have to go on the side, on the northbound side for a turn lane.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Where are we at with the recycling committee? When are we going to form it? And when can we get to work on that?
You're asking me, you're the chairman, you should make that decision.
The manager would make that decision. We've discussed it for long enough. We need to get that committee going so we can have these discussions. Well, I didn't hear the answer.
No, I didn't hear it either.
Well, I'm just saying that is something that Chuck will handle.
I'll be on it.
A slow hangle? We need to be on it. Thank you very much. Need to get that going ASAP so we can discuss all these problems in detail.
Is that something you want to put on? Well, I'll wait till we get to that item.
I'd like to take part in those conversations if possible.
No problem.
Definitely, yes.
The other one is after June 30, another suggestion was made by people when they get a little hot under the collar about having to wait, is only have Rockingham residents get on there, but I don't know how Gary would react to that, seeing as our agreement with the district, the waste district involves Westminster on the thing. I know you and I talked about it last year sometime about what would happen if we only went Rockingham instead of nobody else.
Right,
So-
and that was the state certification to be a solid
Right.
waste
Yeah, I don't know.
facility. We are currently permitted as a two-town solid waste facility with Westminster and Rockingham. So if we were to change that, then we'd have to reapply or amend our permit, and I'm not sure what that whole process would entail, but Chuck probably would have more information on that than I would.
Okay, and the other thing was move the site completely to Route 103, but then we're not really helping ourselves at that point. You've got the same traffic issues there.
That's worse.
Higher,
Much worse.
higher speed road up there and everything else. Just thinking out of the box. So, Gary, you have anything else you want to add to that item, or?
Well, a couple of things to think about. Now, if we're gonna, I don't know what the committee thing is, the recycling committee thing is, but if that gets going and we can discuss things, but I had a couple of recommendations as far as signage went. I would recommend 2 signs and that they have the flashing lights. I think you had talked about, Peter. One at the top of the hill and one at the bottom of the hill, caution turning traffic when lights are flashing. And maybe we can have programmable signs like they have at the school, the middle school, for when school's in session. My concern of putting signs up is that people get oblivious to them. After they drive by, they don't see any traffic turning, and then bang, 1 or 2 days a week, we've got traffic turning for half a day, and the accidents could still happen. If we can program those so the lights are flashing and the signs say, watch for turning traffic when the lights are flashing, you see that at different intersections and things that on the highways, and that might be a way to get people's attention and have them stay alert. Number 2, the speed limit changes just north of our entrance to 50 miles an hour. If we could get V-Trans to move that sign down to the south of our entrance, where it changes to 40 coming the other way, then we'd be still at 40 right in front of our entrance. So it drops the speed limit 10 miles an hour, which might be helpful. I don't know. I don't think we've had a lot of high-speed accidents there that I can recall. And then the other thing we may want to consider when we're doing the big discussion is maybe see if V-Trans or whoever would want to put up some no parking signs, particularly from the top of the hill down to our entrance on the west side of the highway. Because I noticed that when Ben took his pictures, I think Ben's picture was the traffic that was sitting in the middle of the road, But at one time, we had 6 or 7 cars parked on the side of the road going back up towards the high school, which is definitely a hazard in itself. So if we had no parking signs there, the state put out, I mean, it's a state highway, so I'm assuming they're gonna have to do it.
Yeah.
But just some thoughts that we could talk about.
Yep. Okay, hopefully somebody did this, so those thoughts will get into the meeting minutes. So then we set up the committee going forward, we'll have something to think about and discuss. So we won't have to start from scratch again. I don't know who's taking the minutes tonight, but it'd be nice to have those in there. Anyone else have any suggestions, comments on the recycling? Hearing none, we'll go down to,
Kathleen's taking the minutes.
so hearing none, we will go down to
Yes, she is.
Yes, she is. Thank you very much.
review agenda items for the next meeting. We got the Academy Sidewalk, I believe we wanted to put on there. Do you want to put the recycling committee on there?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that normally would be something that we would have discussed, did our committee assignments back after the first meeting, but that wasn't raised at that point.
Right.
So,
Okay.
so
What
we
is it?
put it on for the next meeting.
What
Yeah.
wasn't raised? What wasn't raised?
No, it was,
Sign
we were talking about,
the-
when we
This
assign
committee.
committees.
Uh,
it
Two
didn't get
people
on there.
talking.
Oh, that's all. That's why it's not there. So, it'll get on there eventually.
I couldn't hear Susan's answer.
Go ahead, Sue.
I was just saying that the normal process is in our second meeting in March, we assign all the committees. And this, because it was a new committee, it wasn't on the list. I mean, we could have done it back in March, but now I would say do it now and then make sure it all gets into that process. If we have to advertise, I think there was a few other, for people who want to join that committee. We also have a lot of vacancies on the Opera House committee. That hasn't gone up and going either because we had many vacancies. So I don't know if we want to look at the various committees that we haven't fully formed and get an announcement out somehow. It could just be on our website, and then address them all at the next meeting.
Okay, any other items for the next meeting? Have we got finance on that, Shannon?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Finances, next meeting, update, year.
Yeah. Yep, year to date, absolutely.
Okay,
Peter?
yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Everett has a lot. He has winter sand and stone bid results. He has equipment trailer bid results. Saxon's River sidewalk bid, as you discussed
Yep.
that tonight. Concrete crushing and pulverizing bid results. Reese Circle extension drainage work recommendation, and Blake Street retaining wall recommendation. And that's in addition to the Saxon's River Academy Avenue.
Yeah.
So it'll be a lot of public work stuff.
Okay. Anybody else on the board got anything to add on? Looks like we're gonna have a full agenda. Okay, let's go to items for the joint board meeting, June 30. We've got a little time to play with that. So if nobody's got any thoughts on their head, we can put that off till next week. Okay, take a motion to approve the orders, bills, and warrants.
Make a motion to approve orders, bills, and warrants.
Second. Do we hear a second? All right, motion for the main second, to approve orders, bills, and warrants, or any discussion? Hearing none, all those that would approve the orders, bills, and warrants would say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Other business, Gaetano?
Yes, sir. If I may, I'd like to just update the Rockingham voters and taxpayers on the why I'm not present tonight and what we're doing. So the taxpayers approved the article to get the new fire trucks for the Bellows Falls Fire Department. We're on our way back right now, coming through Montana. We left about 9:30 our time, 11:30 your time. So we've got 9 hours coming up on, I think, a little over 600 miles with this, because it saved money to pick it up, saved a considerable amount of money. I'm here with Deputy James, Chief McGinnis, and myself. James and I have donated our time, and it took another day as when we did our inspection. We found some items that we wanted corrected, and we're now bringing back the new fire truck that the taxpayers supported. I just wanted to update folks.
Good job. Thank you. How's the weather out there? Looks like the sun's out.
So it's 75 degrees right now.
Don't rub it in.
It's 5:50.
It's only
And
about
there's
40
snow
out
on the
there.
mountain as it is. This is God's country out here. It sure is beautiful. Nothing like Vermont, though.
Okay, Stefan.
Guys,
Where do we stand on the old rescue truck as far as the disposition and what's going on with that? 'Cause I know this is,
I could answer.
Go ahead, Gaetano.
I could answer that if you'd like.
Yep, go
We
ahead.
currently have two. We have two serious inquiries. Negotiating the best price. We believe we'll get a better price than had we traded the vehicle in, which was our goal, Chief McGinnis' goal from the start. So through this trip, we've been talking with both parties. So one was a very good lead. They wanted it, and then COVID happened. So now things are getting better where they're from, where they'll be able to travel. And we've got another interested party as well. So we're working on the highest bidder here. And it's not a bid, but we're negotiating price with two serious parties right now, Stefan, so that ultimately you get some more money.
how do we set on the funding for what we're paying for right now, though? We all set with that, or?
The truck is paid in full. We're on our way back with it. Yep. Does that answer your question? Was that your question about the rescue one that's in Bellows Falls?
Right.
I figured it was.
Dan, you have anything?
I'm all set, thank you.
Sue?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, just like to thank the highway for getting out on 121 today. I hate it wasn't my favorite, I can tell you, but it's kind of nice not having to dodge the potholes out there. Make them look like you're a drunk driver. Also, and corresponds with Carolyn Partridge and Kelly Tully, the 26-cent increase that was mentioned in the school ed is probably not going to happen.
26%.
26 cents.
Percent. 16 cents.
Whatever they claim is not going to happen, the Ways and Means Committee is going to look someplace else for it. The fund, so the taxpayers don't have to foot the bill.
I didn't get that from their answer.
And they still can't answer us on the 8% penalty, but we'll see where that goes. That's all I have. It doesn't appear that we have an executive session tonight.
Peter, Mr. Vice Chair,
Yeah.
I'd like to, if we could, have a brief session to discuss let's see, employee, we have to discuss something.
No, we didn't make any adjustment to it's no adjustment on the agenda tonight, so I don't know how if we
Well, it developed today through the town attorney, so we're not gonna meet again.
So
It's
it would
time
be
sensitive.
about employment agreements.
Yes. It developed today, Peter, the town attorney. I was in contact and it's time sensitive, so it wouldn't be able to wait till our next meeting.
Okay, somebody got a motion card there?
Maybe we can stop for a minute and I can get out. Just where you can, Tony, Chief. What I'm gonna do is, sorry, Peter.
While you're finding a place to go and somebody's trying to find a card, I noticed the warrants. You didn't get to sign those, I guess. I got Debbie signed them, I guess, or one of them.
I did sign them.
Okay, but they're not on these copies. That's why I'm just checking. Okay. So somebody there have the motion cards that we need to make this motion?
I don't have one, but I'll go ahead and take a stab at it here.
Don, let me know when you're ready.
Okay, as soon as Ben gets back in here, unless you're taking off, Ben, stand by.
I don't know what's happening, but I'm gonna pull over and get out of the truck so that I'm in privacy.
Takes a second. I just got a fire call.
Call each other.
You're taking around.
All right, we'll take
Went to a fire call, yep.
Let me know when you're ready, and I'll go ahead and make the motion here.
Okay, yeah, I was just gonna say, take a short break so they can pull off, and if you need to go do something, then go ahead.
He wants to get out of the vehicle, and so give him a few seconds to get out of the vehicle, and then make the motion.
Yeah, I'm ready. We're pulled over. Did Ben go to a fire call?
No, I still see his arm there.
Try it again, you're garbled, guy Tyler.
Okay, I'm getting out of the truck. I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay, if somebody wants to read the motion.
I'll make the motion that we enter into an executive session to discuss an employment contractual matter where premature general knowledge may place the municipality at a disadvantage for state statutes. Can't recollect the title number, but I believe it's 313A and maybe 313B. To discuss
Inviting anyone into the meeting?
Second.
Are we inviting anybody in, Gaetano?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor would say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Do we have a second motion we need?
Chair and Vice
Hold
Chair.
on a second, Peter.
Are you guys making a motion or no?
We already made the motion to go.
No,
into-
when you come out, will you be making a motion?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
No announcement.
Okay, perfect.
I have a question, Peter, before I turn this Zoom off.
Yeah.
So if